We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Panchadasi by Swami Vidyaranya. This is a very unique text where, after the study of Bhagavad-Gita and Upanishads, which are the prime sources of knowledge about Atma, if we have not been able to have any progress in our spiritual study, it is recommended that we take up two texts. One is Panchadasi, which is a very, very good text for people like us. The other text, which is also recommended, is Vichara Sagara. But Vichara Sagara, compared to Panchadasi, is a very voluminous text. The notes of this Vichara Sagara runs into 5,000 pages. It's there in my website, but it's a very, very long, and it takes a lot of time to study that text. I know of Swamijis who have taken that text for 12 years every week, but still have not been able to complete the teaching of that text till today. They are still going on with that text because it's an ocean of knowledge. Sagara, Vichara Sagara. Coming to Panchadasi, it's such a beautiful text that all the major concepts of Vedanta are put together in different chapters. The knowledge we get from the Upanishads and the Bhagavad-Gita is very, very crisp. It tells you straight that you are Atma, you are not the body and mind. The Upanishads also declare, when you study the 10 Upanishads where Shankaracharya's Bhashyam is there, including Mandukya Upanishad, we get an idea, but we are not able to penetrate beyond a certain level in our mind. This is the real problem of sadhakas. A sadhaka has to become a siddha. But that journey from sadhaka to siddha is a very long journey. From a normal grihastha to become a seeker itself is a long journey. But the problems we encounter in the second stage, where we have to face all the obstacles given by our intellect, that is a challenge. That is the challenge taken by this great teacher. Vidyaranya is an awesome teacher. He teaches right from the basics and he takes it to the highest in every chapter. Amazing text. And each chapter can be studied independently, and then you can try to reach the Atma in you. After this text, after this chapter 10, I am thinking of taking chapter 3. As of now, if there is some interest in the audience who is listening to these talks, originally I was thinking of taking chapter 5, but then I thought chapter 5 is a fairly advanced Mahavakya analysis. But before the Mahavakya analysis, I thought it may be better to have a slightly a lighter version, so that we are all able to go up to the level of that Atma realization. And then how to abide in that Atma realization is in chapter 5, where it analyzes all the 4 Mahavakyas. Anyway, let's see how this, as time progresses, we'll see how to take the next step forward. So far, we have seen in this chapter 10 verses. Up to verse number 5, 1 to 5 was introduction. And in the 5th verse, it was said, what is bondage, what is liberation? That is the starting point for the teaching. And we will understand that we are all in bondage. That is how we must start our journey. We should not think that I am very knowledgeable and I am trying to test what this text is saying, and I will try to refute that. That should not be the goal. Many people, they do that also. They come for classes to only say, okay, I will pinpoint all the mistakes of the Guru or the text. And then they say, oh, no, these texts are all, nothing very great about them. So in this text, the main thing is how to realize my bondage to this identification with the body and mind, how to discriminate my Atma from this body. That is the objective. The goal has been stated right in the beginning. In the first verse itself, the goal was stated. But in the 5th verse, it's said very clearly that we all are today identified with the body and the mind as the self. And to get rid of this identification is our study. In every chapter, this is the bondage, this is the liberation. This is the bondage, this is the liberation. So you must keep this verse number 5, the meaning of that verse should be absolutely drilled into your mind. Why am I studying? What am I listening? Every week I attend these sessions. What is the goal? You should be clear of the goal, so that when you arrive at the goal, even at the end of this chapter, you will arrive at the goal. The same goal will be repeated in chapter 3 also. The same goal will be repeated in chapter 5 also. In every chapter, the methodology followed is slightly different. Different Upanishadic verses have been taken in each chapter, focused on that particular verse. Vidyaranya writes a whole chapter. For example, this Nataka Deepa Prakaranam, if you analyze all these 26 verses, you will realize that they are all from Bhagavad-Gita Upanishads, Swayam Jyoti Brahmana, which is what we will see in our meditation session today. We saw it last week, and we will see it again this week, because that is the essence of this chapter. My goal is to make each one of you realize Atma in you. That's all. All these verses, they have the same goal. It is a step-by-step built up. You go gradually and then you end revealing the truth. That is how we progress. Verses 6 said that Jiva is a karta, a pramata, only when he uses the mind and the body as an instrument in the waking state. You must be very clear, because this is how the build-up is. Many of you have come back to me asking questions. I have answered the doubts about pramata and sakshi. The same pramata becomes sakshi when there is no instrument involved. That is what we are in deep sleep. When we use the instrument, the body and the mind, the same I is called as pramata, the jiva, karta and bhokta. Pramata, karta, bhokta, these are the three titles each one of us gets when we are in the waking state, or in the dream state, or in the sleep state. That was said in verse number 6. And then it was said in the same verse that there are two modifications in the mind, internal and external. And what are those modifications in the mind was explained in verse number 7. The first modification is internal modification, which is called as the modification of the ego. I, the sakshi, with an internal modification in the mind, in the instrument, I become an agent in this body. Agent to use this body throughout the waking state. This is called as aham. This is one modification. The second modification is called as idam. Whenever I am using the mind as an instrument, the sense organs as the instrument, both together, then the idam vrittis start coming into the mind. So in one case, it is the aham vritti, which is the ego, internal vritti. The second is the idam vritti, which is the external vritti coming into the mind. Together with these two, the I, ego I, is what is called as the pramata. The vrittis, when they come into the mind from the external objects, they're all coming from prameyam. From the objects, it is coming into the mind to the pramata. So the hero in the entire waking state is the pramata, which is the reflected consciousness plus the mind. That is verse 7. Verse number 8 tells us why we have a confusion about this sakshi I, why there is confusion. Because in the vyavahara state, the sakshi becomes pramata. That is where the basic problem arises. Suppose the sakshi was always sakshi without having the adhyasa, the reflection in the mind, all the time you will be a sakshi. That is what we are when we are in the sleep state. I am a sakshi to the dormant mind. That is the right status, which is called as turiyam or sakshi. See how deep these verses are. You see, from 5, 6, 7, 8, they are all deep, deep, deep verses. I mean, I can take 1 hour sessions for each of these verses, which is what I've been doing. I'm just summarizing them so that you can catch up to where we are today, so that the depth of the verses is understood and we are able to go to that and remain in that depth. So in the 8th verse, what Vidyaranya says is that the external sense objects, they cause confusion when I identify with my body and mind and experience the objects. Therefore, there is a mix-up of the real sakshi I with the process of superimposition, which is called as adhyasa, on the pramata. That is the starting point, the ego I. Suppose the ego I was not there, the sakshi I will say, okay, the world is going on, I'm experiencing the world, and then the world goes off in sleep. Again, I experience the world, again it goes off. Now that is where the ignorance lies, avidya. There is avidya which is causing problems, which is the obstacle for us not to realize our true state. The avidya lies in the karana sharira, and it expresses as the ego I. And then we get all mixed up, and then we say, I am sad, I am angry, I am body, I am male, I am female, I am Indian, I am American, I am so on and on and on. That was in verse number 8. Verse number 9 gives the definition of the pramata, the agent, the prameyam, the object, and pramanam, the vritti or the instrument mind. In verse number 9, the definition of the three triputi was given. Very detailed verse was there, that is in verse number 9. So from verse number 5 onwards, the deeper aspect about our own experiences of our own body as the instrument, our own mind as the instrument starts, Vidyaranyana starts describing that. So that we can drop this identification with the body and mind and own up that sakshi. The moment we do that, we are liberated. See the process. So beautifully he has taken up each and every verse. A person who has been able to write these verses, think about it logically in his own mind, with an example, which is what came in the 10th verse. He had the full picture in his mind. He wanted to teach the pure sakshi. The self-evident sakshi is what was his goal. He presents it first in the form of an inquiry, how it has to be done. Where is the real bottleneck today, which is said in the 5th verse? From 5th verse to the 9th verse, he describes the structure of the mind, the structure of the ego, and the structure of the sakshi I. In the 10th verse, he said, this is what we covered last week. When the sakshi identifies with the instruments, the eyes, it says, I see, I hear, I smell, I taste. We saw all this last week. So there is objective knowledge, which is called as vritti jnana, takes place whenever the mind is awake. This is compared to a dancing hall, a lamp in a dancing hall. This is where the example, the Nataka Deepa Prakaranam, the title gets revealed. Nataka Deepa means the lamp of the theater. He's going to explain the details of this in the next 4 or 5 verses. But in the 10th verse, he introduces the light, which is the same as the light of consciousness. The light in the dancing hall is compared to the light of consciousness, which is Atma, which is my real nature, which I don't know today. And more details of that sakshi or Atma is going to be explained till the end of this. Now that is the topic. Here he says that I sakshi, when I illumine the world, I become pramata. And I get objective knowledge. That is said in the 10th verse. Now we'll jump into the 11th verse. That's where we have to begin today. In this verse, more details of the example is given. The 11th and the 12th verses, these are very, very important verses. And try to absorb the knowledge and see the deep significance behind them. There's a lot of packed up knowledge in these two verses, which I'm going to open up and try to reveal what it means. Nirtishala stito deepaha prabhum sakshyancha nartakim sabhyamsha nartakim. Deepaye dive visheshena tadbhavepi deepyate. The light in a dancing hall is revealing what? It reveals the entire stage. The king, who is the patron of that program, who organizes the program, the audience, and the dancer. The patron, audience, and the dancer. When the dance program is going on, the light is illuminating that. When the dance finishes, the light shining still continues to shine. It reveals the empty stage. Similarly, sakshi, the light of consciousness, which is my real nature. Right now in the waking state, it is illuminating my body, my mind, the sense organs, and the world. When I go to sleep, so this is the dance program which is being illumined. Instead of a dance, in this case, it is the vyavahara. It is a episode in my life, a TV serial in my life, today's events, whatever has happened, each one's events are different. So that is being illuminated. What happens in the night? All the sense organs, they wind up, the mind winds up. Whatever is manifested world becomes unmanifest world. This happens at the level of the body, not at the level of Atma. Atma is the light. It will show in sleep that the whole world for me has resolved into an unmanifest condition in my Karana Sharira. Don't talk about others living in America or others living in India, what's happening to them. We are talking about how do I know my own nature? Myself is being analyzed. Self, the SELF, the capital, which is the sakshi. So you should be very clear. Don't extend the example out of proportion. So the light of consciousness in my mind, which is shining now in the waking state, that light continues without the world being revealed, because the mind has gone to passive condition, which is called as unmanifest condition, potential condition. This is the law of this world. Manifest, unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. Right from birth, are we experiencing waking, dream, and sleep? Yes. Each one of us is experiencing, which means this is a universal phenomena. I must try to understand this phenomena clearly in order to understand my own real nature. So the light continues when the dance program stops. That light is the light of Atma. It continues in the absence of the three states of consciousness, three states of the mind. That is the essence of this verse, which I've explained to you. Now let me go through the slides. Light in the hall illumines the dance, which is the patron, audience, and dancer. And it also illumines the empty hall when the contents are absent. And when the dancer goes home, the light is still on. It exposes an empty hall. Same thing happens when the mind sleeps. What we experience is the nothingness in the mind. That nothingness is the empty hall. Exactly like the empty hall, the sakshi is witness to the nothingness. That nothingness, we call it as ignorance or karana sharira, causal body. Many names are given to it. You just understand it as causal body. We all have that causal body. You have it, I have it. That is the nature of this body, of this world. Karana shariram, sukshma shariram, sthula shariram. Karana prapancha, sukshma prapancha, sthula prapancha. Tattvavoda. This is the basic lesson of Tattvavoda. So the sakshi illumines the three states. The three states are nothing else but pramata, pramanam, prameya. That together is called as triputi. The triputi exists in all the three states. Only the object of revelation is different. In the waking state, it is the outside external world. In the dream state, it is the internal world of vasana. In the sleep state, it is the ignorance which is revealed. The object is ignorance. I don't know anything. I don't experience anything. That is what is called as the causal body. It is the karana sharira vritti. Like we have vritti for the sukshma sharira, the karana sharira is more subtler. Each one of us is experiencing every night this vritti. Like we experience the emotions in the mind, we also experience the karana sharira vritti when we are in the sleep state, deep sleep state. No dreams, no waking. And it is this sakshi, the chaitanyam, the pure self, which is illumining the absence of three states. This is the point many of us miss it. When we study Upanishads and Bhagavad-Gita, we miss this point. And then the mind keeps on throwing a lot of questions. This is one of the serious problems of all the seekers. One doesn't understand this maybe in the first 10, 15 years of study itself. What is this karana shariram? How does it express? Is it a vritti? All that we come to know when we study advanced texts like this. So sakshi illumines that blank state. If you miss this point, you have missed the whole Vedanta, you have missed the whole moksha. The main point is the lamp shines when nothing is there. In sleep, I, the Atma, am self-evident, existing consciousness. The most important word here is swayam prakasha, self-evident. Very important word. In chapter 3, this particular word is the whole chapter. This word, self-evident, swayam prakasha. In Sanskrit, it is swayam prakasha. Because the light of consciousness does not require any medium to reveal itself. This is the subject. It is not an object, it is a subject. The subject gets revealed by itself. It doesn't need the mind. It doesn't need the sense organs. It doesn't need the sunlight. It doesn't need the light, the tube light in your house. All that is not required to reveal the self. Why? Because the self is self-evident. The very great analysis of this self-evident nature will be taken up in chapter 3. That is why I'm thinking of taking chapter 3, because this 10th chapter can be easily linked to chapter 3. Very beautifully it can be linked. If you understand this chapter 10, you will understand chapter 3 very easily. Because Atma is self-evident. I don't need anything else. Even now, suppose you get rid of all the 5 koshas in your meditation. And I tell you, just be aware of yourself. You will reach this swayam prakasha chaitanya. Swayam Jyoti, this light of consciousness is called as jnanam. Okay, so that much at this point of time. On this word, Swayam Jyoti, there are 36 or 38 verses in Vedantic Upanishad. 36 verses on Swayam Jyoti, one word, self-evident. One full chapter is called Swayam Jyoti Brahmana in Vedantic Upanishad. And Vidyaranya takes that in about 43 verses in chapter 3. Swayam Jyoti, one word. Very powerful word. If you understand some of these words, some of these concepts, Atma is very easy. It's the easiest thing. In chapter 3, you'll discover that. It is the easiest thing because you don't need anything else. You don't need even a intellectual mind and nothing. You don't need that. Just be yourself, and that is your real nature. And how to abide in it, if you understand, marvelous, fantastic. That is moksha. See, a teacher's job is to reveal that self. And then the teacher says you have to abide in it. That is your own sadhana. The revelation is done by the guru. Abidance is done by the sishya, which is called as nididhyasana. The guru can help clearance of the doubts, which is called as mananam. The revelation happens during shravanam itself. For example, you are all listening. Then you listen to these, your own mind will open up and say, oh my God, that is Atma. I can understand it. How come I missed it? Shravanam itself gives you realization. Then when you go back home and tomorrow when you go back into your own, then you may have certain doubts. Those doubts have to be clarified. Again, once their doubts are clarified, then you can abide in it. That abidance is your own job. That you have to do it on your own. And that is also easy. When the Guru explains to you, it's very easy, because once you have seen that Atma in yourself, that illumination itself makes abidance easy. Like once you have learned to drive a car, then you can drive in any road. In Chandni Chowk in Delhi, you can drive it. Anywhere in Delhi, anywhere, and you can drive it. You don't need to be in a learning track. So without will, uniform, without any discrimination, simultaneously this illumination of sakshi happens. To understand this reality, there are two basic prakriyas, which is called as methods. The first prakriya which is used is called as Viveka prakriya. All of us have to go through these two methods. If we don't do these two methods, we will not be able to arrive at the goal. What is Viveka? Viveka means that what are the 5 koshas or the 3 sharirams, which are called as nama and rupa. I need to have a complete clarity on this 5 koshas and who am I, the reality. That is the reason why I said chapter 3 is very important. It is the essence of Taittiriya Upanishad. The whole Taittiriya Upanishad is condensed by Swami Vidyaranya in chapter 3 of the Panchadasi. That is the first method. The second method is, after we have understood Atma clearly, through this Viveka, Viveka means discrimination, that the body is not me, the prana is not me, the mind is not me, the intellect is not me, the happiness which I experience in this world is not me, or in sleep, the happiness which I experience is not me. These are the 5 koshas. After getting rid of these 5 koshas, who am I? You must apply the rule of swayam jyoti. I am the self-evident consciousness. What are the 5 koshas? Nama, rupa. What is Atma? Reality. How is that discovered? Self-evident. Swayam jyoti. That is one method. The second method is Sarvatma Prakriya. Sarvatma Prakriya means this self is not only the self of my body and my 5 koshas, it is the self of all the people with the 5 koshas. Because they constitute the living beings, they constitute the human beings in this universe who are attempting to realize their own self. So this Panchakosha, beyond the Panchakosha, that self-evident consciousness is Sarva Atma. It is the inner self of all the beings. It is not only it is the inner self of the beings, it is the inner self of the entire cosmos. When we say that it is the inner essence of the entire cosmos, we call that as Brahman. When we realize it in our own self, we call it as Atma. And we realize that the same evident, self-evident consciousness in this body is the same in the entire cosmos. That is where my understanding of Atma is complete. And then I can say, I am that Brahman. I am that Swayam Prakasha Swarupa Jyoti. If I think what I desire is real, then I can never rise above the desires. Now, I have finished the revelation of the sakshi. I'm now trying to come down to the level of vyavahara. At the vyavahara level, what happens? I have desires. It is these desires which are obstacles for me to realize the Atma. They do not allow me to drop and then rise above. Same thing happens with the fear also. Suppose I take the fear as real. I'll tell you why they are not real after this. If I take the fear to be real, then again it will cause samsara. Desire, raga and bhaya, fear. These two together will put me in samsara throughout my life. I'm afraid of death, therefore I live in fear. I'm afraid of the future, I live in fear. I have anxiety of what will happen tomorrow, I have fear. Again, my mind is projecting all thoughts because of ignorance of the self. Similarly, desire. It is the ignorance of the self which projects desires in our mind. These two Vikshepa Shakti, when it happens, I need to control that, I need to put it off. And then that is only possible when I have Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya. When I have Atma Vidya, I will say that this bhayam and desires are mithya. They are there, they exist for some time, again they go away. Again they will rise tomorrow, again they go away. Again they will rise, maybe they will remain for a few years, again they will go away. As long as the body is there, there will be desire, there will be fear. But a jnani who has got Atma Jnanam, he will drop these two fundamental obstacles in his mind-intellect equipment. How to do Viveka? To find out what you are, basically what you need to do is to find what you are not. That is the method of neti neti. Throughout in the Vedanta and the Upanishads, what they try to do is they only try to clear our intellect with the wrong notion. We all take the 5 koshas, the 3 bodies as our real nature. Now that is what the Upanishad tries to do and says neti neti, this is not real, this is not real. And then it doesn't reveal the reality. It only indicates the reality. So that the mind starts looking in that direction. When the mind starts looking in that direction, immediately the swayam jyoti happens. Swayam jyoti happens. When you look in the direction itself, the swayam jyoti Atma shines. And you can realize that shine. Once you have realized that shining nature of swayam jyoti Atma, there's no turning back. You have, it's like tasting a rasagulla. You have already tasted it, you know, you don't need to taste again and again for you to remember that taste which you had 20 years ago and tasted the first rasagulla in life. The prakriya which is used in the Bhagavad-Gita, the 13th chapter very beautifully describes this. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramithya vidhiyate etat yo vetitam prahuhu kshetraknyamiti tattidah. Kshetram is the 5 koshas, the 3 bodies, the 3 avasthas. Kshetrajna is the knower, the consciousness. the self-evident consciousness, which is revealed when we cross the Anandamaya kosha, when we cross the deep sleep state, and then we ask the question, who am I, who is the witness to the deep sleep state? That is the self-evident Atma, which is the Kshetrajna. Many names are given to it: Chaitanyam, pure self, Shuddha Chaitanyam. So many names are given, Nityam. All that is, it's all indicating only one. When you abide in Atma, Anatma will not stand opposite to you. Very important point. Again, this is explained very well in chapter 3. In 2-3 verses, this is explained. What we must understand is that Atma and Anatma are not opposed to each other. They can coexist because they are in different realms. This is a point which we must understand. Atma is Paramarthika Satyam, Anatma is Vyavaharika Satta. Because the two realms are different, in the Atma, it alone can exist without the world, without the sharirams, without the prapancha, it can exist because it is a higher realm. Anatma is a lower Vyavaharika level. It can also exist, but it depends on the Paramarthika Satya. Exactly like the waker and the dream. The dreamer has no existence, no independent existence apart from the waker. It is you yourself who became the dreamer. Similarly, it is you yourself who are the Atma really has become the pramata, Malati I, Shama I, Uma I, Babuvai I. All this you have become. It is who? It is the same Atma. It is one light, Swayam Jyoti Atma. And this is what we try to do in meditation. Drop the koshas and be yourself. You are not the image seen in the mirror in front of consciousness. Because the consciousness, the light of consciousness is the brightest light. It exists only by itself. That is the revelation of the Upanishads. Even in the Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna saw Lord Krishna and says, thousands of suns are rising, the effulgence of the reality. It's as if the thousands of suns are rising where? Not one at a time, simultaneously. What will be the brightness of the effulgence? That is what is the reality. So in that light of Atma or Brahman, then what is this puny little body and its problems? Nothing. That is how all the vasanas get burnt in one glimpse of their reality. The image created by mind is like the reflection in a mirror. We all have images about ourselves. I am very great. I am a great teacher. I am a great writer. And all that is all images. They're all imaginations. It's all thoughts. They are not real. They are real for you because you have thought about it. You have imagined it. It is so you have very, very strong emotional attachment to that thought. But when you understand that that is not your real nature, which is the ego I, the pramata I, the vyavaharika I, I am the pure sakshi which is behind this. So that is what is called a chit chaya in the 3rd chapter or in Kathopanishad. When the upadhi goes away, as in sleep, the image is gone. What do you mean by this? You see, the consciousness is there in the waking state. And the body and mind is also there, world is also there. What we are saying is this world, body, mind is a reflection. Where in the mirror, in the consciousness, this is coming and going, coming and going. It is in me, this whole manifestation of the world comes. In me, the consciousness, the world dissolves. So what we are saying is this body and the mind is nothing but an upadhi. It is an instrument. It is something what, and you must understand the definition of Upanishad upadhi very clearly. If you even just by understanding this upadhi definition, you can reach the highest. What is the definition of upadhi? Samipe sthitva swiyan gunan anyatra yatra adadati. In English, when you translate, it is easier. Samipe sthitva, staying proximate. Swiyan gunan, that means the properties of an object like a flower are adadati, are transferred to the prism. For example, you have a red cloth or a red flower and you have a prism. This is explained beautifully in Atma Bodha. For if you remember the Atma Bodha, this example is very clear. So upadhi is nothing but it is an apparent object, not a real object. The reality is the prism. Consciousness is the prism. The body and the mind are like the cloth or the flower, red cloth, which is called as upadhi. Your upadhi is different than my upadhi. I'm male, female, weight, height, complexion, quality of mind, quality of happiness, all this is different. All that is upadhi. And this consciousness appears as what? Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva is the individual, Vyashti. Ishvara is nothing but the samashti. So when that upadhi of Jiva and Ishvara is there, this consciousness gets the name of Jiva. With reference to a particular body, it is called as Jiva. With reference to all the bodies in the world, it is called as Ishvara. So when you drop the upadhi, which is the Jiva Ishvara names, what remains is sakshi. That is how you should understand the word upadhi. Upadhi means being near to the consciousness. Its attributes are transposed to the sakshi. And then the sakshi, I thinks that I am the body, I am male, I am born, I am dying. But if you know the body is upadhi, mind is upadhi, and you know Atma is self-evident consciousness, swayam jyoti, you have learned to drop the upadhi and be with your real self. Then Brahman, the creation, is not two things existing separately, that means creation and consciousness, it is only one, because that upadhi doesn't have any existence without the consciousness. What remains is only Brahman, which is the pure Atma, self-evident Atma. See how deep this verse is. It can take you to the highest. So Sarvatma Prakriya, it happens automatically when your Viveka is there. That is why I said chapter 3, Viveka. You have Viveka clearly of the 5 koshas. Automatically Sarvatma Bhava will be there, because everything is all coming back to only one consciousness. The ego becomes angry, it becomes happy, sad, desirous. It is the pramata. But the sakshi knows it is wrong to be going after the desires. It is wrong to be angry. It is wrong to be unhappy, because my real state is Ananda Swarup. This pramata recognizes the mistake of taking itself as the ego I, and then it corrects the mistake and becomes the sakshi. This is how the ignorance gets dropped. You are not the thought or the thinker, which is the pramata, but the knower behind the thinker. The knower behind the speaker. Thinker, speaker, seer, hearer, taster, they are all pramata. I am the sakshi, the knower. Can you see the difference? The knower, sakshi, consciousness, and the pramata, reflection. When the reflection goes away in the deep sleep state, sakshi is self-evident, it reveals itself. I didn't know that I was sakshi until I learned Panchadasi, chapter 10, chapter 3. I am free. I am not the 5 koshas. I am the witness of the 5 koshas. I am in a different realm of reality, Paramarthika Satyam. That is Atma. I am no longer the Jiva. I am pure Brahman. So this is the way we should understand who is a Jiva, who is a Pramata, how does a Pramata become Brahman. That is the process of Viveka and Sarvatma Prakriya. See, these two methodologies have to be applied. Unless you apply the techniques in Vedanta, you will not be able to understand clearly Atma, that pure consciousness. We'll be repeating this methodology in almost other chapters or when we study the Panchadasi, but this is the way we have to learn to abide in Atma. We must listen to the mind as sakshi. There is an incessant thought, noise in our mind because of our compulsive thinking. We should not suppress the mind or condemn the mind. Never do that, because you're making it real. Be the living, witnessing presence. I am that sakshi. Whenever I say in meditation, be the presence, this is what it means. Swayam Jyoti. Doer, enjoyer belongs to the mind. It is the pramata. Don't lose yourself in the noise of the mind and be involved with the world all the time. What we need to do is come back to our core, abide as the I am, the witnessing presence, like the Nrityashala Deepa, which is the main teaching of this chapter. I will go through the balance slides of this verse next time. So I will stop here because the time is up. These are all very deep verses. I can just give you the meaning of the verse and go ahead, but I don't intend to do that because I want each one of us to go to the depth of the study of Vedanta through this Panchadasi text. If you do 2-3 chapters, you will get the hang of it, and then every chapter becomes easy. But you must go through these chapters at this depth so that once you, like I said, once you have the glimpse of the Atma and you have cleared all the cobwebs in your mind, all the doubts are dropped, you are the pure self. This shining self is ever evident to you and you are free. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So if I don't see any questions on the chat, if you have any questions, you may ask them. You're being allowed, you can unmute yourself. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead. Yeah, Ram Kumar.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Panchakosha meditation.
Yes.
And kosha, sheath, and upadhi.
Yes. Yes, the sheath and upadhi is the same.
Okay. And what about that avasthas?
Avastha is also upadhi.
Upadhi.
The avastha is also upadhi. The shariram, the 3 sharirams is upadhi. The panchakosha is upadhi. I am the Atma, which is without any upadhi. And that is what I experience in my sleep state as the pure Chaitanya. I learn with the Panchakosha, dropping the meditation, this type of meditation, once I do it, this helps me to understand and go deeper into my own self. See, today I just took a short meditation session. The same methodology, you can do it in your own meditation. All who are learning this Panchadasi text, you will see that your own understanding of this Atma becomes better and better. And you will realize you are able to live much more peacefully. You see, you are able to you are able to realize your own nature, and you will find that life is not as stressful as it is, as it appears to be. You see, that is the beauty of these Vedantic meditations. This is typically a Vedantic meditation, and it is purely based on knowledge of the Veda, and they are extremely powerful. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Babu Bhai, you had some question?
Yes, Hekaji, it is in the early part of your phrase saying that you are not the image seen in the mirror.
Correct.
So, in front of the seen in the mirror, in front of the consciousness.
Correct. You see, what
means,
happens?
I don't understand the thing, Hekaji. Like if you are looking in a mirror, you're seeing your own image, right?
Correct. You see, you are seeing your own image. So don't don't look, see, you should see what is the example and what is the lesson, the teaching. When you're looking at the mirror, actually, are you seeing the image or are you seeing yourself?
You're seeing whether you're grown fat or whether you're thin or whatever.
Correct. You see, you're seeing yourself only. The Babubai is wearing a red shirt. So when you look at the mirror, you're seeing an image of Babubai only with the red shirt.
Right.
You're not seeing the reflection. You're seeing yourself. Is it right?
So what's the difference between the reflection and the one in the mirror?
So the reflection is, see, this is, you should first understand the example clearly. When I look at the mirror is showing my face.
Right.
It is not some other thing which is coming in front of me. It is only my face. This is the example. Now you come to the teaching. When I look at this body in the morning when I wake up, this body which is there is exactly like the mirror. And what is it I am seeing? I am seeing the consciousness in that mirror. That's all. And what is that consciousness? That consciousness is the one which was there without this reflection, without this reflection in the deep sleep. In our sleep state is the real consciousness, is the pure self. When the body comes in front of me in the morning, I am seeing my own consciousness as a reflection in this body. So with the knowledge of the scriptures, I understand I am the consciousness, and this consciousness can never be seen as an object. It is always the subject. Always the subject. So can you see your face, yourself? Never. Can your eyes see your own eyes? Never. So all the time you're looking at the world. See, the world is nothing else, but it is consciousness. So that is the lesson you should learn. It's a very deep teaching. The teaching is, I am the pure consciousness, but when this upadhi, the body and the mind are there in the waking state, it is only an appearance. It is not real. The reality is the pure self, the consciousness, which is there without this body in the deep sleep.
So that means the image what we see in the mirror is just object.
It is,
not the
yes,
subject.
it is an object. That's correct. The image is an object. I am the subject. I am the consciousness, which is the subject. The body, mind, and the world is an object. That's all. If you can learn this lesson, you have got the entire teaching.
Oh, okay. Then one more question, Sikaji. When you emit in Atma, the anatma will not stand.
That's correct.
Opposite to you.
Yes, because it is, it will merge with that consciousness. Anatma is not antagonistic. Antagonistic means it is not opposed. You see, anatma means it is an apparent self. It is not the real self. So what happens when you realize yourself is that anatma which is there, it merges with you. It is not that the body, mind is separately standing outside. They appear to be there, but what happens with the knowledge of Atma is that there is no more anatma. I am the Atma, I am the consciousness, the pure self, which alone is.
So that means the anatma is an object.
Yes,
right?
anatma is an object,
later, right?
sakshi is the subject.
So it will disappear sooner or later.
What happens to you in sleep? what happens to you in sleep? When you say you will disappear sooner or later, every night you experience this disappearance.
Yeah.
When you say you are referring to the body, you're not referring to consciousness. Consciousness never disappears. Body disappears.
So
When the body
Atma is
disappears, Atma is not the body, Atma is the Chaitanyam, Atma is the consciousness. That is the lesson.
Oh, there's a difference between.
Correct. Now you are getting the difference. You see, very good. I'm very happy you're getting this slowly, you're able to understand. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just like to ask you, the bliss state, you see light means is it the conscious is illuminating the bliss state when you feel very calm and happy?
Yes, you are right. When you are calm and you are happy, even when you are in the normal waking state, suppose you are happy and you are calm, it is the sakshi which is illuminating the calm state of your mind.
Okay.
This is the lesson you should be very, very clear. If this is clear, you'll get this moksha right now here. Because you see, you are looking at it everything from Sakshi's point. You're looking at everything as the pure consciousness. And then what happens is all the disturbances, when they quieten, it is the sakshi, which is that light of consciousness, which is that final happiness. It is only reflecting in that mind and telling you, I'm very happy, I'm very peaceful right now. But that is also a state. It is called, that is also a state. You should not take it as real. You should just say, I am the sakshi.
Okay.
So very good. This is a very deep question, Chandra. I'm glad you brought it up because it clarifies a lot of doubts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Deepak, you had the question.
Yeah, I just want to understand the upadhi of the Tripoti of Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara.
Yes.
Jiva and Jagat, I've understood.
Yes.
The light of consciousness reflects in the body and mind as Jiva. Light of Brahman that reflects in the world as Jagat.
Yes.
The consciousness of mind, body, and where does Ishvara come in?
Okay. You see, the moment you say Jagat, that Jagat is nothing but Ishvara.
Okay, so, okay.
The Jagat and Ishvara become one.
Okay. What does it, what is the inference by that?
Yeah, you see, from the inference is that there is, you see, in this chapter itself, there was a verse which said there is aham and idam.
Yes.
The idam part includes the Jagat. That idam part includes the Ishvara. The idam part includes the Jiva.
The external. Idam is the external.
Yes, the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara is the idam.
Yes.
Aham is the consciousness.
Yeah. But do I need to insert Jiva? I'm just asking.
Yes, you need to insert the Jiva because that is the pramata.
No, sorry, the Ishvara.
Yes, you have to include the Ishvara. Because your mind will keep on asking, hey, tomorrow the world is going to come back again. So what is this world I'm experiencing? That is the Ishvara. Ishvara is the power behind the entire universe.
So even the Ishvara behind this creator, whom I perceive has created this entire world of form, is an apparent reality. That's
Exactly. It is
the
an
light of
apparent
consciousness
reality.
giving rise to this apparent reality called
Yes.
Ishvara. That's what
Only with reference to consciousness.
In reference to consciousness,
Yes.
this mind, body, this world, and is Ishvara. Ishvara is the apparent reality which happens simultaneously.
Exactly.
So I perceive that this world is there because of this Ishvara.
Exactly.
I have this apparent reality of this creator.
Yes.
But when I realize that all this is not the real I, then they all merge into this.
Yes,
I want
the whole Anatma world,
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
Jiva Jagat Ishvara, they all merge into the Atma.
Then the second question is that
And this point, Deepak, will get more and more clarified when I take the third chapter.
third chapter. Yeah.
After this, I'm going to do the third chapter. So in that, I'm going to do the Panchakosha Viveka. That is, how to differentiate between the body, the mind, the prana, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, intellect, because I find that many questions from this group which comes up is because of the clarity which is required for these 5 sheaths.
Yes.
So what we need to understand is what are the 5 sheaths, why they are not Atma.
They are the sheath that encase
Yes.
the Atma.
And that is what is the whole third chapter. 43 verses are there. And that will be a very good exercise for all of us because it is a beautiful chapter. I mean, after this 10th chapter, you will see it goes into very big depths, and there you will appreciate a lot of doubts which we have about all the sheets will go away.
I've understood. The other question is I've got 2 more questions. One is this prism and the red cloth is an example of the superimposition.
Yes.
In which we are saying that the objects get transferred their quality on the consciousness, the apparent objects, because they are not the Vyavarika. They transfer their qualities on the consciousness, giving rise to that feeling that this is red. So the prism is
I am the body. I am the mind. You see, I am actually the pure consciousness. But today I feel I am male, I am female, I am got, so many, see, everything is an adhyasa. Everything is a superimposition. The moment you understand the first superimposition, which is the body itself.
The king in the lamp story is the mind, I consciousness.
Is I conscious.
You have mentioned Prabhum, Prabhum.
Yes.
I would imagine. So the king is the consciousness, I consciousness who's seeing because everything is object.
No. Consciousness is the light.
The consciousness is light and everything else is object. So the king is the mind.
The king is the intellect which is controlling the whole show.
Okay.
The intellect. King is the intellect. The dancer is the anyway, I will go into the depths of it once. It will be coming in the next few verses. It's coming.
It will come. Okay. Then last is that you're somewhere I read that listen to the mind as sakshi, don't suppress or condemn mind. What does that mean?
Yeah, you see, many of us, we experience very bad thoughts also. Sometimes we feel the whole life is so miserable, and then we say, these are all vikshepa of the mind, because it doesn't know what the mind is. You see, so never criticize the mind, only say, I am the sakshi, my mind is behaving because of certain factors. I have no control over the factors because this is prarabdha karma.
All the objective senses are playing on the mind, creating these negative thoughts. But it's like the red cloth transferring on the prism, but I am that cloth.
Absolutely.
Witness the thoughts and that are coming in, good, bad, whatever it is. Because
be the prism.
Be the screen on which these qualities are being, but don't get merged.
Either the screen or the prism, or both of them are basically nothing but the consciousness.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, anybody else has any other question? Yeah, Malati? Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. regarding Deepak ji's second question, he was telling that when I go after checking this Panchakoshas, when I inquire I, then all this will merge into that. Means
Correct.
he was. So we can say like that when we inquire I, then we feel that everything is not there. Only I is there. We can
Exactly.
say like that also.
Yes, you're right. Because everything merges in this I only. See, we think that the I, which is the ego I, we first think that is our biggest mistake. In the ego I, nothing merges. You see, the ego I wakes up every day morning and starts acting because of prarabdha karma of the body. Okay?
If those
It
are
is-
there, then
Yeah.
only they merge.
So the ego I also merges in the sakshi I. That is the lesson we should learn from the Upanishads. That there is a sakshi I, which I didn't know, which I didn't know till I came to the scriptures. So that is what I have to teach others. If I want to teach others, I have to teach them about sakshi I. Ego I, everybody knows. That is a natural thing. Oh, I know I am the body. I know I'm the mind. I know I'm the pranas. But those are all wrong errors which we have got. I have to remove this adhyasa, this superimposition.
Yes.
That is what is called as adhyasa. That is what is Shankaracharya's main teaching in Brahma Sutra. In Adhyasa Bhashyam, he says that this is the fundamental error. And he was answering questions to all the opponents who were pranavadis, who were manomayavadis, who were shunyavadis. They said, yeah, all Purva Pakshis, he silenced them and said, all this nothing but only superimposition.
Yes.
What is, you see yourself without the superimposition, be the crystal, be the pure crystal, and see that who you are. There is no doubt that you will realize I am that pure Atma. No doubt. It's a very simple thing. Just drop your 5 koshas and just remain. Whatever you experience, that is your real presence. Good. Anybody else has a question?
Secretary, this
Yes.
this waking state and dream state are upadhis, which goes into seed form in the sleep state.
Yeah, the waking and dream, they merge in sleep.
In the seed form.
Yes.
So that's why we call sleep state also as upadhi.
Yes, it's called a sleep state because it is sushupti. It is merged into that. That is why it is called as the causal state. From there only we all rise up in the morning, again we go back. Again rise up, again we go back. It's called causal state.
The seed explodes when we wake up.
The sleep?
The seed, the upadhi seed, and dream state explodes when we wake up in the morning.
Yes, that's correct. They all explode and again they go back.
Same experience comes back.
Correct. All our experiences in life is just to take it as a passing phase. That's all. It's all our experiences, including this whole teaching. Take it as a passing. It's all happening. It is in the scheme of things. Yeah, Rohit, any question?
No, Shikari, I don't have one question.
Okay. So this text is very, very deep. You will see that, especially when we do the 3rd chapter. After this, we'll be doing the 3rd chapter. You'll really enjoy it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So if there are no more questions, we will close for the day. Thank you and good night.
Are you?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Shikari.
Shekhar ji. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yeah.